Start again. Alright, this video is mainly concerning all the duping techniques that are available. Well, there's more duping techniques that I'm going to show here, but these are the main ones that you can be using during a Borderlands 2 speedrun. If you can play on the old patch. The old patch is currently broken at the moment at the time of this recording, but hopefully in the near future that this is fixed. I have Amerlin with me here. All these techniques require at least 2 players. One of them requires 2 players to actually do the duplication, and then the second one just requires the second player to be off-host in order to do the dupe. The first one is the easiest one, obviously. It's dual duping. You just simply send a duel or a trade request to someone. They offer a gun, and then you both decide to duel for the weapon. And then once the duel has started, the person just drops the gun from their inventory. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and give myself infinite ammo right here. Alright, so now he's dropped his gun out of his inventory, so I can just destroy him. And then I picked up the Gwen's head right here, but you can see they're still on the ground over there. So that's the easy technique. It's 100% consistent. It just takes a while to do. Also, the downside of it is that you can only dupe 4 weapons at a time for every, like, 20, 25 seconds, 30 seconds, however long it takes you to do the duel. You can only dupe 4 weapons at a time. So it's slow, but it's 100% consistent, which makes it really easy to do. And then now, so the main reason I still have my webcam on right now, we're going to go to mass duping, which this is where you need to be me, where I'm off host right now. Amerlin is hosting this for me, so I can actually do this mass duping. But there's a lot of combinations of ways you can do mass duping. It's mainly just the hardware setups. It's all the same. It's the same concept for every setup that you have. The problem is doing it with different setups. So right here, I'm going to be doing the first one. I'm going to move my webcam just to point at my peripherals now, so you can actually see what I'm doing on my keyboard and see what's happening. So the first way we're going to do it is we're going to do it with just keyboard only, not with a mouse as well. You can technically do this with the mouse, but I'll do that as a different setup. But the first one is you just spam your weapon keys on the top, and then you just spam your drop key. So I got it actually really well on the first try. So I duped the sniper, and then I duped the Vladov launcher. This one's not as consistent as the other one is, or as the other setups are. I'll just do it again right here. So I didn't get any dupes there, and I actually got my Vladov put back in my inventory down here. So it's not as consistent. You got to make sure that you time your mashes correctly. And like even then, I didn't get there again. And I'm using shifts so I can spam it super fast. This method's not consistent, and it's probably the worst out of all that I'll show you for mass duping. You just need to make sure that you spam both of them on the same time. It's really hard to do consistently. The easier way to do this with a standard setup is to actually use keyboard and mouse. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and move my mouse over here so you can at least sort of see what's going on here. Put it here. What you can do is simply bind your drop key to scroll up or scroll down. I'm going to use scroll up for this tutorial because scroll down is switch weapon for a combo later. But what you can do is then spam your weapon keys and then just spam drop. So I got 1 dupe on the shotgun right there. That's actually really, it's a lot easier to do before. I'm actually going to switch out this weapon for a different weapon. So that's a lot easier to see what I duped. So I didn't actually get a dupe that time. So this one's also not as consistent as before, mainly because of the timing of the weapon switches. So I got the Gwen's head that time. But this one probably ranks the second worst that you could do, just because you're spamming the inputs. Or you can try switching up the weapon or the keybinds, so you can say, all right, I'm just going to put drop back on my keyboard, so I can pick all these back up. And I think the Gwen's head got put back in my inventory because it was duped. So you can spam scroll wheel like this, and then you can do it that way. That's another way you can do it. It's the same idea. I was just spamming scroll down like this, and it's the same thing, but this is again a really inconsistent method. You are not guaranteed a stack on any of your guns just because of how the timing works out for the keystrokes versus your weapon switching. To move on to probably my strat, this is the way that I do it. I'm gonna use a second mouse, and none of them are gonna be hyperscroll. We'll talk about hyperscrolling later. Hyperscrolling is it's a different concept and a different thing that happens, or it's a different way that mice work. So you can flick the scroll wheel, and it will keep spinning for a while Eventually, it has a stopping point, but it just really, it really makes it easier to hit a lot of, especially this trick. So it makes it easier to hit this trick. But I'm going to use 2 mice for this. Again, you could, so imagine, so this one was $10 on Amazon. You could buy a $5 piece of crap mouse and another $5 piece of crap mouse. Both of these are non-hyper-scrolling mice. So none of them do that extended scroll that you could really abuse for this trick. But right now, so I'm going to spam switch on this one, and then I'm going to rebind drop up here to scroll up. You can do scroll down for drop or scroll up for drop. It really doesn't matter. I believe my keyboard just shut itself off. That is really odd. There you go. Now it's back. All right, my keyboard should work. All right, there you go. I apologize. But for example, so you can spam previous weapon and then drop like that. It's a lot easier to do, and you can see I got 3 dupes on the sniper and 2 dupes on the doll pistol. But it's right there. It's easily a lot more consistent than it is with the other methods. Just time your flicks at the same time, and you're guaranteed to at least get one of the dupes. I actually duped 3 of the 4 weapons. One of them I actually got like 5 dupes on. But this method is way more better, and it's actually a lot cheaper than buying like a good keyboard to do this. But just don't. If I can do any recommendations for this, like just use 2 mice. It's way easier, and you can actually just use 2 piece of crap mice. As I've demonstrated here, doing duping with 2 non-hyperscroll mice is actually really easy. You just gotta time your flicks at the same time. So I'll do it again right here. Pick up all these guns. Make sure my inventory. There's 4 different weapons, but flick at the same time, and there you go. I duped the shotgun 3 times, the Hyperion sniper twice, the doll pistol twice. The only one that didn't get duped was the Jacobs. So again, if I had to rank this, this is probably like the 3rd best way that you can do it without using any hyperscroll mice. So now we're going to switch to hyperscroll mice, which then this starts to get a little... Then the debate of how cheaty this gets starts to get a little shaky. So I'm going to unplug this mouse and switch it for 1 hyperscroll mouse. We'll get to 2 hyperscroll mice in a second, but for now, we're just going to stick with 1 hyperscroll mouse. So what you can do is flick scroll down and then spam scroll up on your other mouse. Super consistent, tons of dupes every time. This is the way I do it in my runs. I don't use 2 hyperscroll. I just realized the mouse was actually out of frame. I don't have that much desk space, especially with the camera is, so I'm going to try to move things so that way you can actually see it a little better. Let's pick up the guns and I'll do it again. Let's make sure there's a 4th gun on my hotbar. Nice, and I'm actually going to adjust my mic, so sorry for the noise. It's a little bit in my way of my keyboard just because of how I have to set this up for the webcam. But again, so I have previous weapon on scroll down, so I unlock the scroll wheel, I flick it, and then I can just scroll up like that, and done. Look, there's tons of dupes. Every gun got duped here, so every single gun was counted towards a crit stack. If you don't know what crit stacking is, there'll be a link to the video of what crit stacking is in the description. But look at that. There's 3 dupes of the shotgun. There's 2 dupes of the pistol, I believe. Maybe the pistol actually didn't get duped. So maybe I got 3 out of the 4 dupes, but it's still more consistent than anything else. You're more likely to get all 4 dupes for using this method than any of the other methods I've already showed so far. But then this is where... So now that you've done 2 mice, this is where it starts getting really fishy. I'm going to plug in another hyperscroll mouse. So I actually have 2 hyperscroll mice. This one's wireless, and I use it for my laptop sometimes. I'm actually going to plug this in real quick. And then apparently the drivers didn't get installed, so I'm going to wait until those drivers reinstall themselves. But then... So now you have 2 hyperscroll mice, and then it gets really kind of fishy with all the stuff that you can do. I don't know if the other mouse will actually cooperate right now. Doesn't look like it wants to cooperate, to be honest. I might have too many mice plugged into my computer. But just for demonstration purposes, it's the same technique, but the fact of that you now have 2 hyperscrolling mice, which have spam inputs like crazy compared to a standard mouse. So, okay, yes, now my other mouse is working. So I'm going to flick scroll down on this one, and then flick scroll up on that one. Just the dupes just increase dramatically. Especially if you can lag your game and get even laggier internet connection, you can actually increase the dupes by a lot. So that's something to note, is that if you have a laggier internet connection, your dupes are a lot more consistent and a lot greater. Like, look at that. There you go. That's a gun explosion. So 2 hyper-scroll mice really break this trick. And the whole point, again, the whole point of this video is just to show the different consistencies with each setup. The keyboard is doable, not consistent at all. Keyboard plus mouse, a lot more consistent, but still not that favored, just because of either you spamming drop to your keyboard or your scroll wheel, and then the timing gets a little weird with keyboard and mouse. Using 2 non-hyperscroll mice is actually super cheap and super easy, and then 1 hyperscroll mouse is probably your easiest bet, unless you want to spend money to get 2 hyperscroll mice. I mean, look at the consequences of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-ish dupes on just the green sniper alone. 1, 2, 3, that was 11, 12, 13 green snipers. Sorry, there's like 4 of the Hyperion purple sniper. There's probably like 7 or 8 of the doll pistol. There's probably about 4 shotguns, I think. Or maybe the shotgun actually didn't get duped, which would be interesting. Yeah, it looks like the shotgun actually didn't get duped, to my surprise. Oh, it got duped right here. So there's 2 shotguns. There's probably like 4 Hyperion snipers. This is a little absurd, but it's super consistent, and it's super easy to get money doing this. And you can make them real, of course, by changing out the weapons on your hotbar, but for now, I'm just going to pick them all up because this is kind of a mess.
And then dueling, 100% consistent, but slow as hell.
Yeah, exactly. So again, if you had to just rank these, 2 hyperscroll mice obviously is, as I just showed, is the best way to do this. You get tons of money. You get tons of money like because of the guns that you get. You're basically like probably 95% guaranteed to stack on every single gun. The Jacob shotgun only got duped twice, but that still counts for a crit stack. So I actually got all 4 of my guns duped there. 1 hyperscroll mouse and 1 regular mouse is probably the better way to do this, because then you can just flick scroll down like this and then scroll up on the other ones. So that way you don't accidentally multiple drop when you pick the guns back up. So that's probably the preferred method for this, unless you just, again, you have this set up and you can go crazy with it. But that was